you know, in order for, I think, for people to really appreciate the Nathan Hector that's here today, we have to start sort of in your roots, right? And, you know, we watched the movie like the intent, notice how the movie highlighted living, you know, what we would call as New Yorkers as the hood, right? Or the block. And what was it like growing up sort of in East London for you, starting in your roots?
East London was cool, man. I feel like it was very mixed, a lot of different cultures. I grew up in a place called Chingford, which is like the northeast of East London.
Okay.
The postcode is E4. I grew up in like an estate called Pill Close. It's like a kind of council estate. And yeah, like we all kind of, it was very like community based, like very family based. Everyone kind of grew up together. A lot of us went to the same school, same high school, as you guys would call it. Okay. And yeah, man, obviously as a young kid, I was exposed to a lot of different things. But yeah, man, it was cool, man. I guess I had it better than other people that I know that grew up in different parts of London, you know. So yeah, man, grew up with just me and my mum. My nan always lived like, my grandma always lived like 5 minutes away. And yeah, man, I've had my best and my worst times there, a lot of ups and downs, good times, bad times. I was exposed to a lot of things. I experienced a lot of things. I found myself caught up in a lot of different situations. And that's not because I was in the streets, but that's just because of what I was exposed to outside. You know, and I always, because I was an only child growing up, I always wanted to be outside and make friends and X, Y, Z. So yeah, man. That's kind of how it was, you know. And
for our American audiences, council housing or council estates is the projects. Like, it to be like kind of our projects, but they're very nice. Like, though. There's some really nice ones.
But if you go there, it's not. Chingford is not a bad area. I mean, look, there's different boroughs. I grew up in the borough of Waltham Forest, which is made up of, I think, 5 different areas. So there's Chingford, Hymes Park, Walthamstow, Leighton, and Leytonstone. So each borough has different each area in the borough has different like pockets.
Got it.
And then in each pocket there might be like a gang or two. Do you know what I mean? There's things happening now, but like I'm tapped out with it.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But
were you ever I guess tempted to join a gang, or was that heavy in your neighborhood? Because I guess from my perspective, like, you know, what I see as gang culture there is Top Boy. That's the most recent thing. I'm like, oh, okay, they got some hoods out there, you know? Yeah. Like, was it kind of like that, or you kind of avoided that?
For me, it wasn't. I got picked on a few times by certain individuals, and I guess that made me very defensive as a teenager.
Got it.
So at a certain time, I started getting into certain things and started having certain things around me and on me.
Yeah.
Where I was an only child and I didn't have a big brother to call. So I just thought this might be the only way to stop this from happening. And eventually it stopped happening. As you get older, people fade out and people go about their own business and you get on with your own life. But I guess because a lot of my older cousins were in the streets, I kind of saw certain things that had happened to them. A couple of my cousins been shot. Couple of them went to jail, X, Y, Z. So I just thought, that's not for me, you know. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know. I'm proud of that. I don't think me trying to be in the streets would have been. It wouldn't have made sense because that was just never my thing. I never grew up having ops and all these kind of things. And I think again because I grew up around certain things and certain behaviors and certain people. Again, I looked at what was happening around me and thought, nah, I'll just go and do this acting thing, you know. And luckily I found something from young that I enjoyed doing, that I knew I was kind of good at, and just kind of went down that path, you know.
And did that in any way influence your career choice where you are now as an actor, entertainer, host? In any way, growing up in East London, in the estate, like, did that have any influence on you? Because we did read that, you know, you had a knack for entertaining when you were quite young, right? Like by performing in front of your family and your friends. Is that something you always had in you? Was it developed through time?
Yeah, man. I think, again, being an only child, I always found myself entertaining myself and finding things to, you know what I'm saying? Finding things to do, bro.
Yeah.
You know what
your mom, you had
like,
to entertain her.
Yeah, man. Like, obviously, my mom had me super young. My mom had me at 17. So for me, it was like, there were times when everyone else was allowed outside. Nath, you have to stay inside. And I'm just like, this again. You know, so I'd always find things to do. Like, I don't know, like write little rap lyrics or watch 8 Mile and perform Eminem's part where he's battling my man at the end of the movie. You know what I'm saying? So me and my granddad spent a lot of time together. Like my mum would be at work or she would go on holiday or something, and me and my granddad would spend a lot of time together. So that's the kind of time I'd use to be a rapper and use him as my audience, you know? So when I host now, I'm doing the same thing I used to do in my bedroom or in my living room with my granddad. But the difference is now is that I'm doing it in front of hundreds, if not thousands of people. You know what I mean? So
That's dope.
I feel like there was a few like different rappers in my area. We had Frenzo, we had Big T, we had Itch Dot, we had PCPB, like Piff City Paper Boys. They were from an estate called Chingford Hall Estate. We had a guy called Shaq. We had like a few different like kind of rappers, like street rappers from our area. And I guess like growing up amongst that also kind of influenced me to kind of like go down the music route and explore that more, you know?